Hey everybody, Heather here. So today we're going to be coloring this super cute Magnolia image called Tilda Hiding Heart, and she is available over in the store. I'll put a link down in the description box if you're interested in that. I've already stamped my girl on Nina 80-pound solar white cardstock with Memento Tuxedo Black ink. So let's color. Alright, so let's start out by outlining our image first, and for that I'm going to use C0, and I'm just going to go clear around my girl. So let's start down here. She's actually got a little space in between her feet here, so I'm going to start there. And we're going to go all the way around, and I'm just going to fill this little spot in here. I don't want that little white spot there. And then I'm going to go all the way around her. And she's also got a little space right here where her hair and her leg are not touching, so I'm going to put a little dab of my color in there. And I go up here around my heart. And, oh, she's got this cute little bow in her hair. Adorable. And I just quickly go all the way around. And I don't worry if I get it on her, because this is a pretty light color and it's going to, it's not going to show up very much. But if you're worried you can take and you get some on her, you just take your colorless blender and erase it. Okay, all the way around like that. Next, I'm going to do the ground, and for that I'm going to use W2, W1, and W0. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start out with my W2, and I try to bring my ground up just a little bit past her shoes, so I'm going to use this first little bump here as my guide. And I put my tin down right next to her, and then I flick away. Same with over here, I'm going to draw lightly next to her shoe, and then I just kind of pull my pen away so that it softens as it gets towards the end. Over here I want to go past her shoe a little bit again, and then just pull that line out away from her. As I'm pulling away, my hand picks up, and out here it gets a lot lighter out away from her. Next I'm going to add some W1. So I place my pen down on top of the last color, and again I'm going to flick right over the top of that, going past where I went before. And then W0. And you can go as far out as you want, or you can make it a smaller area. Totally up to you. It's looking like I need to fill that one back up. And then I like to go back with my W2 and just darken it up again underneath where she's standing. Just give it a little bit more of a shadow. And I may extend the line further than I went last time. I may just keep it shorter. Just depends on how I'm feeling at the moment. Next, let's do her skin, and for that we're going to use E11, E21, E00, E000. For the cheeks, I'm going to use R43, R20, and R30. I'm going to start with my E11, and I'm going to start down here on her leg. Let's see if we can get a little bit closer there. Okay, so let's do just a little tiny dab of our E11 right next to her skirt. And on this leg, I'm going to go down the inside, and she's got a little knee here. I'm going to kind of bring my line in just a little bit, and then come down to her shoe. And I'm going to kind of go just a little bit onto her shoe there, because she's got some little lines. And then over here, again, we're going to go underneath of her skirt. And then I'm going to go down the back of her leg, because that heart's kind of hanging on that leg. And then down that little spot right there. Then I'm going to grab E21, and I want to soften that line. So I'm going to touch down on top of my 11 and just pull out a little bit, because 21 is still pretty dark. But I want to lighten that line just a tad. Same with this side. I think I'll come around on this side of her hair just a little bit. That way I don't have to worry about it. And then E00. I'm going to fill in most of her leg with that, but I try to leave just a little bit of white out on the outside edge. And then fill it in with your E000. With my E000, I always try to just go over the entire leg or the entire area I'm coloring, just so it softens and blends those lines just a little bit more. Alright, then let's move up here and we'll do her hand. And again, I'm going to start with E11. And let's do right next to her little dress. And then come around on the bottom. And this one we're going to do right where her hands are touching, and then come around on the bottom. And then E21. Brush just a little bit of that on there. I think I'll add a little bit in this little crease right here where her hand is touching that heart. And then E00. I'll just leave a little bit of a white patch there on the top. And a little bit of white on this side. And then E000 to fill that in. Cute. Okay, so now for her face, again we're going to start with E11, and I want her face to be darkest over here on this side. So I'm going to start right here where she's got some little bumps or some little shadow lines on her face. Go right along that edge and right up the side where she's got lots of little shadow marks on her forehead and on her skin. Like that. And I'm going to come clear back around over here to where her bangs stop again. And then I'm going to grab E21. I'm going to turn my girl a little bit so I can flick a little bit better. So I'm going to take my E21 and we're going to just soften that line. So I'm going to pull it out just a little bit further. And then I want to bring my 21 clear around her face and connect the dots over here. Okay, then I'm going to grab E00. Add a little bit more color, soften that edge just a little bit. I'm not worried if it's not softened all the way like I like, because I'm going to add cheek color and then I'm going to redo it. And this is E000. If you wanted your face to stay a little bit lighter in the center, just leave that little white patch like that. And then we're going to add our cheek color. So R43 is what I'm going to start with. And I'll start over here and I'm going to draw a little bit right next to the edge of her face. And I use the little dots that are already on there as part of my guide. And then over here we're going to do right in the center of these little dots. And then R20. And then R30. And then I go with my E21 and I skip the E11. So E21, and let me turn my girl here a little bit more. And I lay my pin down and I kind of flick up. So again, as I pull away from my where I started, my hand automatically is picking up and it's getting lighter out towards the edge. Then we're going to go with E00. And brush over that. I also want to bring this from this side. So I'm going to brush right over the side of that cheek. And then I take my E000 to fill it all the way in. And then if your cheeks had gotten too light and you want to pink them up again, I go over them a second time, and then I go over them with the E000 to soften the edges. But I'm liking how that looks, so I'm going to leave it just like that. So now let's go do her hair, and for that we're going to use E35, E53, and E50. I'm going to start with my E35. And let's go down here and get a little bit of these little bottom sections. So I'm just going to drop a little dab on there. And she's got a little whoop-de-doo here that's kind of skinny, so I'm just going to fill that in. And then we're going to do this little section over here, add some dark. And then where it kind of bends out and bends back in, I'm going to add a little bit right there. And then again, where it's really skinny right here, I'm going to go ahead and just add a little tiny dab in there. And then we're going to go up here towards the top. And she does have a hairband in her hair, so you want to make sure not to color her little hairband. So let's start in front of this bow. And I start at the roots, and I add just a little bit into her roots. And then where the hair kind of bends and twists, I'm going to add just a little bit of dark color. So here's a little twisty spot. And then here's a little twisty spot. And then here again, it's bending back up. Add a little dab in there. I also want to get right here where it's going behind this heart. Add just a tiny dab right next to that heart, all the way across. Okay, and then over here, how it's kind of bending in right here, we're going to add a couple little swoops. And then here it's kind of bending back out, so we'll get right here. And right here where it's bending again. And then up here where it's coming out from behind her little hair bow. And again, remember, right here she's got the hair band, so you don't want to color that. Okay, that looks good for that side. So let's go over here and do this side. And again, I want to do right where it's coming out, touching her dress. Add just a little bit in there. And then she's got one little loop right down here that's poking out behind her dress. Add a little color in there before I forget it. And then up here where it's coming away from her face, I want to add a little bit of my dark color in there. And then here's a little bump where it's bumping back out. And get in there for a little shadow in there. And then here's a little wrinkle right here. And, oh, let's go up here towards the top and get a little bit where it's touching her little bow. And again, there's a hairband, so be careful of that. And do the roots over here. And I think I'll add a little bit right here where it's swirling underneath. And then just add a couple little dips of color in there. Okay, that's a good start. I'm liking that. Okay, so now we're going to go with E53, and we're going to go back over here to this side. So I'm going to add a little bit on each of these little swirls she's got going on down here. And I want to leave room for my last color, so I'm going to leave a little bit of white in there. Okay, I'm going to go up here towards the top. And let's do... we just want to soften the edge of some of that color. So let's just grab some of that edges. And remember, she's got her little hair bow there, so be careful. Okay, I'm liking that side. And same thing for this side. You just want to soften the edge of that color. So I'm just dabbing a little bit onto each section and leaving some white. And then don't forget this one little curly Q down here at the bottom. I'm just going to fill in that little bitty section there. Okay, and then I go over the rest with my E50. I'll fill in that little sections. And then go up here, and we're going to fill in up here. this side. And just work my way all the way around and fill in her entire hair section. You can also leave a little bit of white in there if you like that. I'm just not very good at that, so I tend to color it all the way in. Okay. And I really like that. I sometimes go back and I'll take my E53 and add some more shadows in there, but I'm liking how it turns out, so I'm just going to leave it like that for now. And I have a little section right here that I missed, right up behind this hair bow. So let's do E35. I'm just going to do a little bit of that right in this crack of where her roots would be, her part. And then E53. And then I'm going to fill it in with E50. Next, let's go work on her hair bow and her dress, and for that we're going to use V28, V25, V22, and V20. I'm going to start with V28, and we're going to start up here on her hair bow. And so let's add a little bit of our V28, and it's really dark. So I'm going to add this right next to where it comes out away from that little bow. And then I'm going to do the knot, like that. Then I'm going to grab V25, and I'm going to add just a little bit to soften the edges of that V28. And then over here on the hair bow, I'm just going to add a little bit in the center of each of those little bows. And then we're going to go with V22. Add a little bit more on this side, over here. And finish it off with V20. Okay, then we're going to go down here and do our dress. And again, we're going to start with V28. And let's add some shadows. And right here, next to our neckline, you can kind of see the inside of the dress, so I'm going to fill that in. And then I'm going to do right next to where her bodice touches the top of her dress. And I'm going to add a little bit of this where her arm is touching her dress, because it's going to be dark underneath there. And right here where her dress is touching her hair. And then I also want to do a little bit on this side of the line. I didn't color this cuff. And then add a little bit to these seams right here. And next we're going to go with V25. I'm going to go ahead and fill in this little section over here. And then brush lightly on my line and pull it up a little bit more. Soften these lines just a little bit. And then let's pull this line down here out a bit. And I think I'm going to bring this bottom section, I'm going to bring this out just a little bit like that. And then I'm going to go with V22. And I'm going to fill in this top part of her bodice. And then bring my arm bands up here just a bit. And again, I want to soften these lines, so I'm going to go down here and soften on those. And then for her dress, let's bring this out even more. So let's go out here to the second little ruffle she's got going on. Okay, and then I'm going to fill that in with my V20 or my V20. So let's do this and up through here. And I'm going to use my V. Did I use my V20 for that? No. Okay, so let's not color that dress in yet because I didn't use that. And go down here. And we'll fill in the rest of this dress. So now let's work on these boots, and for that we're going to use E44, 43, and 42. I'm going to start with my E44 first, and let's start with this boot over here and just go down the outside edge and along the sole. And then I'm going to give the little soles just a little bit more of a wrinkle there. And then I also want to add this right where her boot is kind of creasing and bring a little bit of that color there. And then same for this side. I want to add a little bit right here in that crease. And then along the soles and down the back. And again, she's got a couple of lines there that make wrinkles, so I'm going to add those on. And then E43. And let's go underneath all of these little ruffles right here. And then pull that color out. Same for this side, we're going underneath these little wrinkles and then pull that color out. And I think I'll just fill in this section and make the top of the boot shiny. That, and then take my E42 and fill in this top of her boot there. I also like to go over the entire thing just to soften all my lines. Blend them all together. And then I'm going to take E41 to color in the lace or the ruffly stuff. And then I also used E41 on the cuff of her dress. Alright, so that leaves us with this cute little heart right here, and for that we're going to use R89, R39, R37, R35, and R32. I'm going to start with R39, and she's got just a little bit showing down here underneath of her hand, so I'm going to color underneath of her hand just a bit. And then up here, I'm going to go right where her hair touches. And I'm going to bring this color down along her sleeve, clear down to her hand, like that. And then right here where that kind of bumps in, her little heart does, I'm going to give it a little dab of color right there. Okay, and then I'm going to go with R39. I'm going to fill this bottom section in. And then I want to bring my color up, so let's flick that just a little bit just to soften it. And then same with this, we want to soften this line. So we'll flick right along our line. And then R37. And then again, we're going to flick some color on here. And then R35. And then R32 to fill it in. And R32 to R35 is a pretty big jump. So I'm going to grab my R35 again. Just to get my paper wet. and then go over my R32 again. Gives it a nice little shiny spot there at the top. So that is the Tilda hiding heart. Isn't she adorable? She looks super cute. Love her. And here is the finished card. Let's see if we can zoom out a little bit. Super cute. So I've added Bow Bunny doily up here at the top. And then I have my girl and a bunch of these fabulous flowers with some buttons. I went ahead and I did some Sharpie white paint pen to her cheeks, and I added some dots to the heart up here. And then I took some Spica glitter pen and added it to her hair, of course. And then I've done my Stickles Stardust on her boots here and on the cuff of her dress. And then I added some Smooch Glitz to this little heart here in Starlight. Just gives it a little shiny sparkles on there. But I hope you had fun coloring with me today. And if you have a question, leave me a comment. I'm happy to answer all your questions down there. And we'll see you next time. Have a great day. Bye.